Random House Audiobooks presents Gung Ho by Ken Blanchard and Sheldon Bowles. Read for you by Agnes Herrmann.
Gung Ho. Tuesday, I made my promise to Andy Longclaw. I promised to tell you how we saved our business from closure, how we then made record profits with record productivity, how you too can motivate and turn on the power of your whole workforce. But first, I want to tell you why I made this promise and how this book came to be written. It all began at Walton Memorial Hospital, June 7th, 1994. Andy was in the hospital. We both knew it would be our last visit, but I couldn't bring myself to admit he was going, or to tell him the things I needed to say. Instead, I chatted brightly about the spring day, baseball, and business. In mid-sentence, I stopped. I'd just run out of small talk. There was, for me, a short and awkward silence. Then I heard my thoughts break through. "I love you, Andy," I choked out. His large, weathered hand moved slowly across the sheet and covered mine with a grip that was still surprisingly strong. "I know," he said, then added, "I love you too, always have." Whether it was the emotion of the moment or my visit that had worn him out, I don't know, but he closed his eyes. His head rested easily on the pillow. I knew he wasn't asleep. His hand still held mine in a reassuring grip. He may simply have been honoring the moment with silence. I had learned over the years that a long silence from Andy was his way of telling me that what I'd said was important. It deserved its own space before being banished by a reply. We sat together, our hands touching, for several minutes. Andy once told me his mother had taught him not to wait for silence before speaking, but rather to wait for the silence to end. Finally, Andy spoke, his voice clear but weak. "I will be leaving today to join my ancestors." As always, he tackled the issue head-on. I didn't reply, but no reply was necessary as he continued. "You have blessed me with pride and riches." "Oh, no, Andy, no," I protested. "It is you who have blessed me and everyone in the company." "We have done much together," Andy said with a wisdom and finality. Then he added, "There is still much to be done. Too many toil alone. They are unhappy. Their spirits die at the office door." I gave Andy's hand a gentle squeeze. Their spirits die at the office door. How true. All across America, spirits died at the office door. "You must tell the story so our children can tell their children." Andy paused and took several deep breaths before continuing. "The Gung Ho story, the spirit of the squirrel, the way of the beaver, the gift of the goose." "I will, Andy. I will. I promise." "Thank you," he replied. "You have lifted my last burden." Then he added, "The owl calls my name and waits to lead me on. I will go while there is still light." He looked over at me and smiled with a look of tranquility I'll never forget. "Gung Ho, friend." "Gung Ho, friend," I replied. Gung Ho had been our special greeting and our goodbye for many years. This was to be our last. What follows is the story I promised to tell. I'd been set up. Me, Peggy Sinclair, head office rising star. I should have realized it when old man Morris told me I'd been named general manager of Walton Works No. 2. The excitement of getting my own plant blinded me to what must have been obvious to everyone else. I'd never been in operations before, always in a staff position. I knew the theory all right, but I'd never done it. I wasn't trained or ready to run a plant, even one doing well, and this one wasn't. I thought I'd been forgiven for the staff study I'd authored, which concluded that Old Man Morris's new strategic plan had a fatal flaw. He wasn't happy, but he acknowledged the problem, and this saved the company $1 million. I thought Walton Works No. 2 was my reward. It was, just not the way I had it figured. Tuesday, September 4th, 8 a.m. I arrived at the Walton Works No. 2 plant full of energy and enthusiasm. By quitting time, it was clear that I'd been had. Everyone knew the plant was the worst in the system, but I had never imagined anything this bad. 6 months, a year at the most, and it would be closing. Gone, and I'd be going with it. The perfect scapegoat for Walton Works No. 2. It didn't take a genius to see why productivity was so low. The company treated the raw material piled in the yard better than it treated the workers. As I met with my management team, I found only one bright spot: the 150-person finishing department. In spite of the problems with Walton Works No. 2, no other department on our whole 32-plant system was so efficient. That meant about 10% of this plant's workforce were gems. The rest appeared to be lumps of coal managed by Neanderthals intent on self-destruction. Then, when I met with the division manager to whom the manager of the finishing department reported, I was told all wasn't well, even there. "You'll want to get rid of the operations manager there fast," the division manager advised. "Andy Longclaw is bad news. Indian guy, you know. Now, I've nothing against Indians, and this one's a bright brave. Got an MBA even, but he's a troublemaker. Real thorn in the side. That department will be even better once he's gone. Indians," he added with evident distaste. I didn't know if Andy Longclaw was a troublemaker or not, but I did know this division manager wasn't going to last while I was around. I might be fired myself in 6 months, but I didn't have to spend it in the presence of narrow-minded fools like him. At day's end, the office emptied out so quickly you'd have sworn the fire alarm had gone off. There was still plenty of daylight left, so I decided to take a long walk. I started down Main Street. I didn't have a destination. I was just wandering and thinking. I noted the town had 2 supermarkets, 2 drugstores, and a statue in front of the town library. Reading the inscription, I discovered that unlike most towns, the statue didn't honor a famous warrior or long-dead politician, but instead an artist. Apparently, Walton had been home to Andrew Peyton, a Native American woodcarver, who had won a number of international awards for his beautiful wildlife carvings. I crossed the bridge. A green field led to the river edge, and a lone bench sat looking across the river to where the factory stood looking grim and lifeless. A good metaphor, I decided, for what was happening inside. As I neared the bench, a tall, dark-haired man ambling along from the other direction flopped down, hands thrust deep in his pockets. He'd taken the far end of the bench. Normally, I'd have been wary sitting next to a stranger, but I felt the safety of a small town. "Mind if I sit down?" I asked. "Sure thing, but I'm afraid I'm not very good company today." "Troubles?" I asked, more from politeness than caring. "Expect I'm going to be fired," the man answered with that charming frankness that can exist between total strangers. "How come?" I ventured. "I work at the plant over there. Have for the past 15 years. Tomorrow, though, who knows?" I looked at my benchmate with new interest. I guessed from his features that he was a Native American, and I suspected I knew who this was. It was obvious from his next comment that he had no idea who I was. "Some new lady's taking over," he continued. "A real wicked witch of the West, we hear. Boss says she's going to fire me, and I expect she will. The place isn't going to last long anyways. Don't know what will happen to the town when it's..."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?